Hey loves, it's Gigi and I'm back with another video. Today I'll be doing a video on my very first pregnancy. I'm gonna talk about my very first baby that I had and my experience when I first had a baby. And that was 9 years ago. My daughter Anaj, she is 9, y'all. We call her Nana for short. But that's my first baby, and I want to give y'all a little story time about my first experience with giving birth, all that. I'm going to talk about it. Before I begin this video, I want to tell y'all to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me. So back in 2010, me and my kid's dad, we wasn't even together at the time. But I don't even know what we should call each other because we stayed like together. Like we was always hanging out, we was always, you know, kicking it. Like we had friends. This is the time where I was still like roaming the streets, like in the hood and going out and doing all this and that. So this is around that time. Me and him, we wasn't together, but we was definitely kicking it hard. I don't know what I was thinking. I was only 20 years old at this time. I don't know what I was thinking, but I just wanted a baby so bad. Like, I really wanted a baby so bad. And I'm just like, now that I'm 30 years old, I'm thinking back, like, why did I want a baby so bad? Like, I mean, ain't nothing wrong with having kids, don't get me wrong, but why was I thinking about having a baby when I was supposed to be enjoying life? I wasn't even married. I wasn't even in a relationship. I wasn't none of that. So why was I thinking about having a baby? I don't even know, y'all. I can't even tell y'all what I was thinking at the time. But I wanted a baby. And then when I had brought it to my kid's dad attention that I wanted a baby, he was like, I ain't ready for no baby. Like, he told me like he wasn't ready for no baby or whatever. And I kept on telling him like, I want a baby. I want a baby. And y'all, I was just so young and dumb. Like, don't even mind me. I was so young and dumb. I wasn't even in a relationship at the time. I wasn't married. I didn't even have my own house yet. Like, I don't know what I was thinking about trying to get pregnant. But anyway, we tried that first month. We tried that whole month to have a baby. Like, we wasn't using no protection. And, you know, yeah, so we wasn't using no protection or whatever. And my period was like late. It was like a day late or something. No, yeah, my period was like a day late. I wanted a baby so bad that I assumed I was pregnant when my period was a day late. So I took a pregnancy test and the pregnancy test came back negative. But I'm like, I gotta be pregnant. In my head, I was just feeling like I was pregnant. I was like, I gotta be pregnant. I gotta be pregnant. Me and him went to Planned Parenthood to check and see if I was pregnant. I kid y'all not. Once we pulled up to Planned Parenthood, I had felt myself coming on my period. And so I kid y'all not, like once we pulled up at Planned Parenthood, I felt like my period came on. You know that feeling when your period come on. I felt that. So I went in Parenthood and went to the bathroom and seen that I was on my period. So I was so mad. And I was just young. I don't know. I was so mad that I wasn't pregnant. And this was only month number 1 that we tried. This was only the first month we tried. So I wasn't pregnant then. I ended up leaving out of Planned Parenthood, not even checking in. And just leaving and got back in the car and told him that my period was on or whatever. We tried the next month after that. We tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. We tried. This was around the time my period was supposed to be coming up. But I felt like, okay, this month gonna be just like last month. Like, I'm not gonna be pregnant or whatever. And so me and my sister, my kid's dad, his friends, we all went to this girl house that I grew up with, and we was just kicking it. We was drinking, we was smoking, we was doing all of that. We was talking, we were just, you know, kicking it or whatever. Days later after that, my period was supposed to come and it never did, but I didn't take no test. First of all, I was scared that something was gonna be wrong with my baby because I was drinking and smoking. Like, I was drinking and smoking, but in my head I felt like, no, I'm not gonna be pregnant. So I kind of felt like that was the reason why my period was late, because I'm not really a heavy drinker or a smoker. So my periods are regular, because sometimes I guess when you smoke and drink and stuff, your periods kind of be off. I heard that. I'm not sure if that's true, but I heard that. So that's what I felt like. My period was off because I was drinking and smoking. But then on the other end, I was like, maybe what if I am pregnant? What is something wrong with my baby? Because I just had a fun, weekend, and here I am, might be pregnant, and I might have harmed my baby by doing that stuff. Like 3 more days had passed or whatever, my period still didn't come. I decided to go get a test to see if I was pregnant. I went to go get me a test, and I tested, and when I looked down, I didn't see no line, no nothing. I assumed I wasn't pregnant. But I left out for like 5 minutes and came back in. The line on the pregnancy test was light. And I was like, I think I'm pregnant. So I was so happy. I took another test and it came back positive too. I was just so happy that I was pregnant. I had called him and he came over and I had showed him the test. He didn't seem that excited like I was. I was really, really excited about being pregnant, and he was just like, oh, okay. Remember that I did tell y'all that from the beginning he told me he wasn't ready for no baby and he didn't want no baby, but we ended up doing it. Like, he ended up getting me pregnant or whatever. I did notice that he really, like, now I ain't gonna say he didn't care, but it was like really not as excited as me. When I found out I was pregnant, I ended up going to the doctor so that I could confirm that I was, and I was pregnant. And then the second thing I was thinking about, like, my mom and my grandma, because we lived in a duplex, and my room was upstairs with my grandma's house, and then my mama lived downstairs, and because my brothers had that room downstairs and me and my sister had the room upstairs. So I was just thinking, like, dang, I gotta tell my grandma and my mama that I'm pregnant. And I was so scared to do that because I don't know, they was really strict on me or whatever, on me and my sister. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect or what they was gonna say when I told them I was pregnant. Especially since I didn't have my own place. Still living at the house with them, so it's like I don't have my own place. I'm just pregnant, but I was still happy because I wanted a baby. But anyway, so I decided to text my grandma and my mama. Back then, I don't know if it was any such thing as a group text back then in 2010. I can't remember, but I do remember texting them separately, and I said the exact same thing, like, hey, I'm pregnant, I'm sorry. That's what I text both of them. And then my mama was like, what you sorry about? And you're grown. And it's crazy because my grandma said almost the same thing. She said, you're grown, just take care and do what you gotta do. So I was so shocked that they wasn't mad that I was pregnant. I was really shocked about that, but I am grown, so I don't even know why I would have even thought that they was gonna be mad that I was pregnant. I had ended up telling them, and then when I seen them face to face, it was just normal. Like, the vibe was still there, everything. Like, it was nothing different. It was just cool. Everybody just knew I was pregnant. As I started getting bigger, and I was working at Walgreens at that time while I was pregnant, and I was so excited, and I told my co-workers that I'm pregnant, the girls that I talked to every day, because I was a beauty advisor. So we had like a group of girls that was over there, and we just always, you know, we was cool as friends. We always talked about life, and you know, we were just a good group of people working together in that department, and we just all grew a connection. I ended up telling them that I was pregnant, and they was happy for me, and they told me congratulations. As time went on, as I started getting bigger, when I was still living at home, I was like, I gotta find me a place. Like, I really have to find me a place. I really gotta find me a place. And I was thinking, like, I'm 20 years old. Like, it's time for me to find a place. So I started looking online for places, and everywhere I went, it said that I had to have a co-signer because I didn't have no credit. Like, I didn't have anything in my name. The only thing I had was student loans, and that was from beauty school. It wasn't high student loans, but it still messed up my credit because they had ended up putting that on my credit. I had that under my name plus nothing else. I didn't have an established credit, so I could not find no place. I've seen this one apartment. It was like a real cheap price. The area of the place wasn't even that good, but the inside of the place, I loved it. Like, I fell in love with that place when I seen it. I filled out the application, and then when the lady called me, she told me the way I would be approved is if I get a co-signer. And I was like, I'm not even gonna get no co-signer. That's all I was thinking in my head. I didn't even think to ask anybody either. I just assumed everybody was gonna say no. I had ended up talking to my grandma, like the lady said that I can get the place if I get a co-signer. Then my grandma just flat out said, I'll do it. So my grandma co-signed for me to get my first place, and I thank her for that. I had ended up moving out. The early months of my pregnancy, we ended up making it official again, and we was back together. He had moved in with me, so it was just me and him. But we both worked the same shift. We both worked first shift. And at the time, we didn't even have a car. I had to take the bus to work, and he would walk me to my bus stop, and he'd go to his bus stop. We'd just end up meeting back at the house. I always got off before him, so I'll meet him at the house. He'll come after, you know, later on after me or whatever. We was doing so good. Like, everything was just coming together. Everything was just really coming together. While I was pregnant, you know, I was growing, I was eating, working, basically just working, going home, eating, you know, taking care of my body, trying to stay active while I was pregnant. And I worked all the way up until the day I went in labor. So I worked that whole time. That whole time I was pregnant, I worked. I had ended up going to work. But before I went to work, the night before, me and my kid's dad, we like had sex, and that was 9 months. That was a week before my due date. After we had sex, I didn't feel normal again. Like, after that, I felt weird. I was in pain. Like, I was just in constant pain after that. The next day, I ended up going to work. And still, I was in constant pain when I went to work, but I'm not in labor. It was painful, but it was tolerable. So I felt like I was just, you know, tired or something. I needed some water. I just felt like that. I did feel the contractions, but I thought, like I said, I thought I was just tired and needed to, you know, relax. So that's why I ended up going to work. So I had ended up going to work, and at work it had gotten worse because I was actually standing up on my feet working. Like, I worked at Walgreens. I was stocking the shelves. I was on a little register that's by the cosmetic department. I was helping customers. So I was doing a lot. At the same time, I was having contractions, and I didn't even know it. I had called my mama. I had snuck in her bathroom. Didn't even tell them that I left the floor. I had snuck in the bathroom, and I called my mom and was like, Mommy, I'm in pain. I'm hurting. Like, and I'm at work. And she was like, Girl, what is you doing at work when you in pain? Tell them that you need to go home. I had ended up telling them that I had to leave because I was in so much pain, and they knew how far along I was, so they okayed it like real fast, like, yeah, sure, like, take care of yourself, do what you gotta do. My mom had ended up coming to get me, but we didn't go home. We went straight to the hospital. My kid's dad was at the house, and he had already told me that he was gonna have company, and his brothers and cousin came over, so he had already told me he was gonna have company. So when I had got back, that I know they was gonna be there, I told him my mom was just gonna take me to the hospital. He didn't have to worry about it, and if that I was going to labor, I was gonna let him know. So I got to the hospital. I can't even remember if I was dilated or not, but they just sent me back home. I went back home in pain, y'all. I was in so much pain. My mama dropped me off. She told me, like, if it gets any worse, let me know or whatever. Let me know. So I'm like, okay. So when I got to the house, my kid's dad and his brothers and his cousins was over, and they was having like a little get together. When I got there, we all was talking. I was telling them that the doctor sent me home, and we were just laughing and giggling, and they was drinking and stuff and playing a drinking game and all that. I just sat in a group amongst them, but I didn't drink anything. I was just, having fun with them, laughing, talking. My kid's dad was sitting here taking shots, and they were just having a good time. Then I started noticing my kid's dad getting a little bit too drunk, because I'm like, dude, I'm in labor. Like, I was stopping him from drinking, but by the time I stopped him from drinking, it was kind of too late, because he already took a lot of shots, because they was playing the drinking games. Everybody stayed the night over there. He ended up getting so drunk that night that he started throwing up everywhere. And remind you, y'all, I'm in labor. I'm having contractions at the same time. Him throwing up, everybody trying to take care of him, everybody trying to see if I'm okay. In my head, I was just thinking, like, yeah, I'm really not ready for no baby. Neither one of us ready for no baby right now. They ended up cleaning him up, and he ended up passing out in the bed. So it was like no talking to him. He was just out of there. So I ended up laying next to him, and I did go to sleep. I did. But I woke up early the next morning in so much pain. When I tell y'all, I was on my knees at that time. Like, literally, every time I had a contraction, I was sitting on the bed on my knees. Like, I didn't know what to do. I ended up laying back down by my kid's dad, and I started bawling up, like, wake up, because I think I'm in labor. I was telling him that. But then he still had the hangover from the night before. So I don't even think he understood what I was saying, because he put his arm around me like this and pulled me close, and then fell back to sleep. And I'm just looking like, I'm hurting, I'm in pain. So I woke him up again, like, I'm in pain. I kept telling him I'm in pain. He was like, call your mom and see where she at. So I called my mom, and my mama came and got me, and I was so mad because he was laying in a bed passed out. And at that moment, I knew me and him both was not ready for no baby. We was not ready for no baby. I just grabbed my hospital bag that I had already packed. My mama had came and got me. So we at the hospital. They wouldn't give me no epidural yet, because they said I wasn't that far along to get it. So me and my mom took a walk through the halls. And all through the halls, I was having contractions. I could not take it. Like, I need this epidural. I need this epidural. I need this pain to go away. All my mama kept doing was rubbing my back. Every time I had a contraction, she would just rub my back. And I was just like, wow. This is the worst pain ever. Like, I did not expect that at all. Man, that was some pain I have never felt before. I was just crying. Every contraction, I was crying. So finally, we went back to the room, and I got back in the bed. I was just having straight up contractions. They was hurting so bad. My contractions was just hurting so bad. The doctors finally came in and they checked me again. And they was like, oh yeah, you're ready for your epidural. So they ended up giving me my epidural. The shot went so fast, so quick and easy. They gave it to me and I didn't feel no pain after that. I was like, this feels so great. Like, I didn't have no pain at all after that. Next thing you know, the doctors come back in. It was like an hour or so later. It was time for me to start pushing. I had the urge to push too. My birth with my daughter was so good. I didn't have to push long. She like basically came on her own. Like, she just came on her own. It was just so good because I hear a lot of stories about births, and I had a good experience giving birth to my baby, my daughter. I had a good experience. So she just came right out, and that was done. She was in my arms. Boom, bam, bam. That was it. I didn't feel no pain when I got done. My stomach was flat, but it was dark. But it was so weird because my stomach went back flat. And I was like, wow. Like, my snapback was so strong. Okay, so by the time I had my daughter, I did hit 21. I basically had my daughter at 21. My stomach went back flat. I had a good snapback. Oh, I missed a whole big old chunk. I ended up calling Quentin after I got the epidural, like, come on, where you at? And he was on his way to me. He had finally got back to his senses, and he came, and him, his mom, and my mom was the three people up in the hospital room with me, and the baby came so fast. My experience at that hospital was so good. After I had my daughter, they let me breastfeed her. It hurted so bad when I was breastfeeding. I wanted to breastfeed my baby so bad that I didn't even get formula for her. She had everything under the sun except for formula, because I was so determined that I wanted to breastfeed. So at the hospital, I had tried to breastfeed her, and it did work out. It just hurted so bad. And for me, pain, I got a low tolerance. I just wish I was a little bit stronger with that. When I was telling the doctors, like, I'm in so much pain, I don't know if I'm going to be able to breastfeed, they ended up giving me some formula that they had for the babies at the hospital. When I went home, I was still trying to do the breastfeeding thing. I was trying to go between both, but she would not get enough milk after that. Like, she would not get enough milk. I wasn't I don't know if it's called supplying, or I wasn't getting milk for some reason. I ended up putting my daughter on the formula, which, I mean, it worked out. It did. I was so tired. Like, I was so drained. She would not sleep at night. She would not let me put her down. You never ready. You never know what it is to be a parent until you in that situation. Yeah, you see a pretty little baby that somebody got, but you don't know what work comes with that pretty little baby. And that's what I had to experience when I had my daughter. I experienced what all I really had to do at being a mom for the first time. Waking up in the middle of the night, not getting any sleep, a baby crying, you have to constantly change the baby pamper, you had to constantly feed the baby. And I was 21 at the time, and I was a new mom. It was so hard for me. I ended up having postpartum depression. It was so hard for me. It was so hard. But then I am so happy that I did have my kid's dad with me to help me. But me and him both was so exhausted, so exhausted. I wanted a baby so bad. Like, that's all I kept thinking. Like, I wanted a baby so bad. I have to get stronger. This is what I wanted. That's all I kept thinking. So I ended up, you know, getting on the schedule. Because I wasn't on the schedule at first. I was just going with the flow. But I seen that going with the flow wasn't working. Not at all. So I ended up getting on the schedule, and it got better. It got better dealing with my baby. She started walking at 9 months. She started pulling herself up when she was like 5 months. So she was standing up in the playpen when she was like 5 months. She'll be crawling around the floor at 5 months. She'll go pull up on the couch. It was just so weird. And she was 9 months when she started walking. My baby was so independent. That's my independent child. She's independent now. She's just the same way now. But that's the end of the story. I know I was rambling a lot. Like, I don't even know if y'all understood the areas of the story that it went in. I hope y'all understood it. I hope it wasn't confusing. I hope that I wasn't all over the place with this story. If you want to see more story times from me, hit that subscribe button. This was the story of me having my very first baby, and my experience with labor and delivery and coming home. And I think I'm gonna be doing a story time on when I had my son next. His is a lot different than my daughter's, and it was not as easy giving birth to him as it was my daughter. Don't forget to follow my social medias. They are down below, just in case you forgot. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, loves.